Rachel and I first crossed paths about 7 years ago, and we quickly became close friends. We were both raised in the Midwest, where our strong Christian faith placed God above everything, even family. Sundays for us were filled with church services and discussions brimming with hope about our future. I was carving out a successful career as an engineer with great prospects, while Rachel excelled in her job selling accounting software for a major tech company in Atlanta. Before we got married, my parents, with their generous nature, gifted me a 3-bedroom house as a graduation present. They wanted to share their wealth while they were still alive, rather than waiting until after they passed away, finding joy in giving while they were here. Rachel and I tied the knot a little over 5 years ago, and since then, our life together felt like an endless honeymoon. Our intimate life was vibrant, with passionate encounters at least 4 nights a week. We were seen as soulmates, which amused our friends who envied our closeness. Our happiness grew even more when we welcomed our 2 beautiful blonde twin girls into our lives. With their arrival, our focus shifted entirely to raising them in a loving and supportive environment. Some might call our lifestyle dull. We mostly ate at home, went out on Friday and Saturday nights, and spent Sundays at church. Unlike our peers, we weren't interested in socializing or keeping up with the latest fashion trends. Rachel preferred conservative clothing, both at work and at home, and we reserved our intimate moments for our bedroom, a space built on trust and transparency, which was the cornerstone of our marriage. Rachel was naturally affectionate, showing her love through tender touches, kisses, and hugs, which I cherished deeply. We enjoyed sharing our emotions and valuing each other. Raising twins came with its challenges, but I savored every moment spent with them. Although the twins sometimes stressed Rachel, I was always there to support her through any difficulties. Our partnership thrived on effective communication, which helped us address issues as they arose. Life with Rachel and our twin girls was smooth sailing until a week before the annual exhibition. Rachel was notified she had to attend due to some colleagues falling ill with the virus. Despite her efforts to decline, the urgency of the situation left her with no choice. She expressed her regret, saying she was sorry to leave us for 3 days and that she had tried to avoid it by contacting her boss. She mentioned how much she hated being away from us. I reassured her that we'd manage fine without her for a few days and that we'd miss her dearly. I helped her pack and saw her off to the limo the company had arranged for her trip to the airport. Our marriage had always been strong, based on trust and openness. There had never been any hint of her acting in a way that wasn't loving or faithful. We shared everything and worked together as a team, especially when it came to our children. On the second night of the exhibition, I received a text from Mark, a colleague and friend attending a cybersecurity event in Atlanta. He mentioned Rachel being at the exhibition and asked if I was supposed to be at the security conference. His curiosity about the trade show Rachel was attending puzzled me. I confirmed it was in Atlanta but wasn't sure of the exact name. Mark's messages left me uneasy, as if he was hinting at something. He sent 2 photos and a video. I was struck with dread as I looked at the first photo. It showed Rachel in an unfamiliar outfit, the shortest dress I had ever seen her wear, emphasizing her ample chest with a plunging neckline. She was in pumps I didn't recognize, her hair and makeup impeccable, exuding an allure I had never seen from her before. At first, I tried to convince myself it couldn't be her, laughing inwardly, thinking, I wish Rachel would dress like that. But my amusement quickly faded when I saw the next photo, a close-up of her sitting closely next to Andrew, one of her bosses. I was left stunned, unable to blink, until the next photo appeared, a close-up of her smiling and gazing into Andrew's eyes. My heart sank as I tried to find a rational explanation, but it felt futile. The following message contained a brief video clip showing Rachel kissing Andrew, her arms around his neck while his hand rested on her right breast. My mind exploded in that moment. I felt as though my whole world was collapsing. Tears streamed down my face, my heart pounded, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I received a message. Hey, are you okay? What should I do? Can you see her right now? I replied, yes, I'll call her immediately. I dialed her number, hearing it ring several times before reaching voicemail. I left a message, expressing our longing to speak with her and hoping she was having a pleasant evening. I updated Mark about the call, asking, I just tried reaching her. What happened? Mark's remorse was evident as he responded, Ethan, I'm so sorry about this. She pulled her phone out of her purse, glanced at the caller ID, and then put it back without answering. I couldn't believe it was her. I'd never seen her act or dress like that before. Mark, thanks for being honest with me. You're a true friend. I'll handle this on my own. Please don't confront her directly. Just keep me posted if anything else comes up, but don't waste your time trailing her. I've got this covered. Are you okay, buddy? Honestly, I'm far from okay, but I know what I need to do. I'll take care of it. I'm still in shock, but I'll come to grips with it. Thanks for your support. Anytime, I'm here for you. Take care of yourself, Mark. Thanks again. I poured myself a stronger drink and sank into the dimly lit living room, struggling to process the sudden collapse of my world in less than 20 minutes. I had been completely unaware of any issues in our relationship. How long had this been going on? Had I truly missed the signs? No, she had never given me cause for concern. In fact, our bond had seemed to grow stronger over the past 6 months. None of this made sense, leaving me utterly confused. Within the next hour, Mark sent more photos and videos. One brief clip showed them dancing with his hand on her back. Another captured them kissing on the dance floor. A third photo displayed them in a deep, intimate kiss on an empty dance floor, oblivious to the music ending. I had to face the reality that it was over between us, but I needed to unravel and understand everything that had happened. Using my problem-solving skills as an engineer, I spent the following days devising a plan. Rachel called me unexpectedly at 10 p.m. After receiving the last photo from Mark, I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I decided to mask any sign that I knew about her betrayal. Hey there, sorry I missed your earlier call. I was at a dinner meeting and couldn't talk. I miss you so much, baby. I wish I could be there with you, cuddling under the covers, showering you with kisses. I miss you too, Rachel. I love you deeply, and thank you for calling. The girls are adorable. I'll send you some photos. They miss their mom and want you home. I tried to leave tomorrow, but my boss insisted I stay. I hate being away from you, darling. We'll celebrate when I'm back. Are you finished for the day? Yes, I'm getting ready for bed and another long day of work. Love you, baby, and I'll call you tomorrow. Good night, Rachel. I love you more than words can express. I hung up, tears welling up once again. My words had been sincere. I loved her more than anything and hoped this was just a terrible dream. Past midnight, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, wondering if she was truly in her hotel room and what she might be doing. Mark sent another message, this time with a photo of Rachel and Andrew on a lobby sofa, sharing a kiss. His hand was beneath her short skirt, her arms around his neck. They looked like a couple in love, openly displaying their affection. And one last thing, buddy. I'm done for today, but it looks like she's still busy. Let me know if you want me to stop. I can easily put an end to this. It's tough to face right now, but thanks for the photos. No need to continue. Let her go. It's her wrongdoing, not yours. Stay out of it. Thanks again. I cried myself to sleep, knowing that the love of my life had betrayed me. Eventually, exhaustion and the comfort of our marriage vows, along with the girls' sleep, eased the pain and tears until I woke up the next morning. Rachel sent me several affectionate messages filled with hearts, kisses, and emojis. She professed her love, saying how much she missed me and the girls, and even hinted at a passionate night when she returned. When she came back, she showered me with sweetness and affection, acting as if nothing had happened. I began to wonder if perhaps she suffered from dissociative disorder or had been unknowingly medicated. Despite my search for answers, I knew I had to face the reality and prepare for her return. Our frequent conversations seemed normal, with Rachel expressing her eagerness to reunite with us. I couldn't decide which hurt more, her infidelity or the deceit surrounding it. The feeling of being deceived cut as deep as seeing her embrace with Andrew. After discovering my wife's betrayal through Mark's messages, I took decisive action. Leveraging my tech expertise, I discreetly installed tracking software on her phone, initially meant for finding lost devices. I chose the latest software, even walking Rachel through its setup. This software included a voice recorder that captured calls, texts, and emails with automatic cloud uploads if activated. Let me be clear, my intention wasn't to spy on her, but the situation demanded caution. Before this incident, I never considered invading her privacy. However, my trust had been shattered beyond repair. My priority was to protect our daughters and salvage our marriage if possible. Thankfully, caring for the twins kept me busy and provided some relief from the turmoil. Whether it was preparing breakfast, cleaning up after them, or playing with their dolls, These moments were precious amidst the chaos. Trust me, taking care of 3-year-old twins is no easy task. By 2 p.m., I finally managed to get the girls settled for their afternoon nap. After tidying up the house and taking a shower, I settled at the table to catch up on things. Rachel had sent me 6 more loving texts, letting me know she'd call me at 5 p.m. after finishing her day. I read through them and then logged into her account on my laptop, checking the records from the spy software. I was struck dumb as I read the messages between her and Andrew. Here are a few samples. Last night was incredible, baby. I can't wait for tonight. Thanks, kitten. I enjoyed it too. Can we go to my room after work before dinner? Sure, but I need to call my husband first. I should be ready by 5:15. Does your husband suspect anything? Not at all. He believes I love him, and I plan to keep it that way. We've been hiding this for over 6 months, and he's none the wiser. Don't worry. My anger surged uncontrollably, forcing me to stop reading. Kitty? Did he just use the term kitten? That's the name I've always used for her during our intimate moments. Had she given him that name too? Was I really this clueless? How could I be so blind? I threw my laptop onto a chair and screamed in frustration, grabbing a lamp from the table and smashing it into the wall, sending shards everywhere. The rage I had barely managed to keep in check now consumed me entirely. Just as I was about to smash another lamp, I heard the girls crying. Their cries yanked me back to reality, and I regained control. I rushed into the bedroom, gathering both girls in my arms until they were calm. After cleaning up the glass from my outburst, I let them play in the living room while I sat with a strong drink, reflecting on my actions. I realized that the marriage was irreparable, and it was time to make a move. I couldn't stomach listening to more conversations or reviewing additional files, so I let them build up in the cloud. I decided to play along with Rachel's deception. My immediate plan was to act as a loving husband while plotting my next steps. I intended to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private investigator, and find a way to secure custody of the girls. Their well-being was my highest priority, and it was the only thing that truly mattered to me. Hey, sweetheart, how are the girls holding up? They miss their mommy. Oh my goodness, they're on my mind constantly, and of course you too. I can't wait to hold you when I get back. I'm going to give you the warmest kiss you've ever had. I responded, oh darling, I think of you all the time and long to embrace my loving, beautiful wife. Soon, my love, we'll be reunited. Somehow, I managed to keep it together, and our call lasted exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she said, I love you, Ethan. I need to catch the bus back to the hotel now. I'll message you later. I love you. Another effortlessly delivered lie. She had quite the knack for it. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you can imagine. Her deceit had turned my pain into a mix of contempt, anger, and a desire for revenge. I was determined to expose her lies and make her face the consequences. Loving her so deeply made this betrayal even harder to bear. When she arrived at the airport, she greeted me with a hug and a kiss, just as she had promised. Either she was an exceptional actress, or she genuinely cared for me. Was her involvement with Andrew only physical? Her behavior continued to baffle me. She spent an hour with the girls, clearly enjoying their company. That night, she was unusually affectionate in bed, repeatedly expressing how much she missed me and the girls, and lamenting her prolonged absence. She spoke of wanting nothing more than to be with me, holding each other in bed. She was tender, loving, and completely different from the woman I had seen at the fair. I reciprocated her affection and cherished our time together. It felt real, and I wanted it to be genuine because being with her was everything I desired. Yet deep down, I knew it wouldn't last. I kept my newfound knowledge hidden, showering her with love and meeting her needs every night. To the outside world, our relationship seemed perfect, evoking envy from others. This pretense lasted for 3 months, during which I looked for any signs of infidelity, but found none. She came home from work at her usual time every evening, with no suspicious phone calls or messages. I even dared to hope that it was all a misunderstanding and that things might get better. Mr. Bryce, a private investigator, called to set up a meeting for the next day. I drove downtown to his office and sat in the conference room. Good afternoon, Ethan. It's good to see you again. Likewise, Mr. Bryce. Ethan, I wish I had better news, but unfortunately I have some troubling information. Are you ready to go over our findings? I sighed and nodded. While I hoped for the best, I was already aware of what was happening between Rachel and Andrew. Mr. Bryce placed a thick leather binder in front of me, divided into sections: text messages, voice transcripts, video calls, phone call transcripts, and photos. Mr. Bryce, before we dive into this, I'm confused. I've been keeping a close eye on her activities and schedule for the past 3 months, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She's been the perfect wife and partner, and this doesn't make sense. Let me guide you through it and see if anything becomes clearer. I avoided looking at the cloud files because I couldn't bear the thought of reading the texts, hoping for a better outcome. Sadly, that hope was quickly shattered. The binder was a grim testament to Rachel's betrayal. Over 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, and 75 pages of time-stamped photos documenting her and Andrew coming and going from hotel rooms. On top of that, there were 82 video calls and 50 pages of phone call records. For the past 3 months, Rachel and Andrew had been making regular trips to a motel, at least 4 times a week, spending about 2 hours each time. It seems there have been 2 men involved with your wife recently. Do you recognize this man? I was stunned. Is this Michael Bennett, the CEO of her company? Yes, Mr. Bryce confirmed. And it looks like she's involved with both him and Andrew. Are you saying my wife is having an affair with 2 men, including the CEO of her company? I'm afraid so, Mr. Bryce said. The evidence from texts, calls, and videos clearly shows that Michael Bennett is intimately involved with your wife. For instance, there's a video labeled Balcony, where you can see them having sex. Rachel is leaning over the railing with Bennett behind her. They were completely unaware of the recording. He played the footage on a large screen. There was Rachel, my wife, bent over the railing with her CEO behind her. I felt a wave of nausea and had to step out of the room to catch my breath. When I came back, I was desperate to see more, driven by a need to uncover the full extent of her betrayal. The video labeled Balcony 2 shows Rachel with both Andrew and Michael at the same time, Mr. Bryce said. I regret having to show you this, but since these incidents happened in public, you can use these recordings in your divorce and custody proceedings. I sat there, my mouth hanging open. It was impossible to reconcile this with the Rachel I thought I knew. I hoped, desperately, that there was some mistake. Ethan, Mr. Bryce continued, we've done a background check on both Andrew Harris and Michael Bennett. Andrew has been married for 10 years and has 4 young children. Mr. Bennett has been married for 25 years and has 3 grown children. The text messages reveal that Andrew introduced Michael into their activities after your wife expressed an interest in a threesome. It's a grim situation, so I'll let you review the details at your own pace. Here's the folder and a USB drive with all the files and videos. Your lawyer will likely need both. When I met with my lawyer, she was astonished by the sheer amount of evidence we had. She was baffled that there had been no prior signs of infidelity. At home, Rachel maintained her role as the loving wife and devoted mother, as if nothing was wrong. My lawyer outlined various legal options based on the evidence and needed time to explore them fully, scheduling another meeting for the following week. I instructed her to start the divorce proceedings immediately. Leaving her office, I felt a heavy, painful lump in my stomach. I knew it was over before the meetings, but the videos had extinguished any remaining hope of reconciliation. I was left in a daze, struggling to understand who this woman was. Later that evening, after tucking the girls in, I suggested watching an old movie on Netflix called Unfaithful. I had heard it was worth watching. Let's see how it is, I said, hitting play. Given the film's theme of infidelity, I had a plan for how to broach the topic. As the movie played, I casually mentioned a female intern at my office who had been showing interest in me. Can you picture me with another woman? I asked with a chuckle. Rachel gave me a sharp look. Really? Who? If I catch you even thinking about being with her, I'm done. Got it? You're mine and no one else's, she declared, her tone cold and serious. Despite my attempts to keep the mood light, she was clearly furious. It was infuriating how she was so vehement about fidelity, while her own actions were so contradictory. Ethan, why didn't you mention her before? What's her name? Rachel demanded. Rachel, relax. She's just an intern, a flirtatious one at that. I've been completely ignoring her. What about you, Rachel? You're stunning, and you expect me to believe no one ever flirts with you? Of course not, Rachel retorted. Everyone knows I'm married and would never cheat on you. So throughout our entire marriage, you never considered being with someone else? Not even a friendly kiss? Have you ever cheated on me?" Her anger flared. "Are you kidding me? Did you seriously just ask me that? I show you my love constantly. I'm completely faithful and would never be with another man. You're being ridiculous. I can't believe you'd even think that." I apologized, agreeing with her and turning my attention back to the movie. I chuckled quietly to myself, admiring how convincing she was. No wonder she was so good at her job. Once things settled, she snuggled against me again, and I knew it was time to confront her. I pulled out my phone, opened the messaging app, and selected a photo of Rachel and Andrew kissing on the dance floor, his hand unmistakably on her rear. As I studied the photo, Rachel noticed my distraction. "What are you doing, Ethan? Why aren't you watching the movie?" "Because what I'm looking at is more real," I replied. "What do you mean?" I muted the movie and showed her the photo. She froze, her expression a mix of shock and guilt. I kept my gaze fixed on her. "This is quite the passionate kiss you're sharing with Andrew. Care to explain?" "Where did you get this?" Rachel's voice trembled as she stared at the photo. "My friend Mark Lewis saw you with this guy at the restaurant. He texted me to confirm if it was really you, and it turns out he wasn't mistaken. He sent me this photo," I explained, my tone icy. "By the way, you look stunning in that dress. I've never seen you in something so revealing. Were you trying to impress someone special?" Rachel shifted uncomfortably. "Well, I guess you have an explanation?" I prompted, placing my phone back on my lap. She started to speak quickly. "Ethan, we only danced once. He was drunk, and after the song he kissed me. But what you don't see is that I slapped him and made a scene. I would never let something like that happen. I bought this dress for a business event, but I didn't realize how revealing it was until now. I'm so sorry." I gave her a nod. "I understand. Accidents happen, and that was the only incident." She seemed to regain some composure. "Yes, Ethan, he won't try anything again." The movie continued, but I remained quiet, observing Rachel's unease. After a few minutes, I pulled out my phone and started playing a video. In it, Rachel and Andrew were on the couch, and his hand was under her skirt. Rachel's eyes widened in terror. "What are you watching now?" she asked, her voice quivering. "Do you remember that night when you called me, saying you had a long day and were heading to bed?" I asked softly. She nodded, her face pale. "I got another text from Mark, and this time it was a video taken 2 hours after your call. Want to see it?" I asked, hitting play to reveal the video of Rachel and Andrew kissing, with Andrew's hands clearly in intimate areas. "I'd love to hear a new explanation," I said, a smirk playing on my lips. My anger had morphed into contempt and a grim amusement as I watched her reaction. "Oh, Ethan, I'm so sorry," Rachel began, her voice breaking. After we hung up, Andrew called me about an issue with a client we were meeting the next morning. He asked me to meet him in the lobby to discuss it. I had a few drinks and got a bit tipsy. I barely remember what happened, but I assure you, nothing beyond a kiss occurred. I told him to stop, reminded him I was happily married, and then I left. I interrupted her. "That's part of the issue, kitten," I said, using the nickname deliberately. "You've lied to me twice in the last 20 minutes. Can you see my perspective? I'm alone here, and the woman I love is caught in 2 photos kissing her boss while wearing the most revealing outfit I've ever seen her in. How do you think that makes me feel?" Rachel's tears flowed freely. "Ethan, I love you. This happened 3 months ago. Why didn't you confront me earlier?" "Honestly, I wanted to see if you'd come clean on your own. I wanted to be sure that you were as truthful as we've always been with each other. But now I see where we stand. Are there any more lies? Are you involved with him? Do you love him now?" I pressed, savoring the disarray in her eyes. She sobbed. "No, Ethan. My love is only for you. I never want to lose you. Nothing happened beyond the kiss. I don't know why I dressed like that. It's not like me. I was just trying to look good. Maybe because other women were dressed similarly, I felt insecure." "I understand insecurity," I said, trying to sound sympathetic. "But why didn't you tell me about your interactions with Andrew?" "I didn't want to upset you," she said, her voice still trembling. "He's my boss, and I didn't want to risk my job. If anything had really happened, I would have told you immediately. You have to trust me." "All right," I said, trying to calm her. "But I'm confused about your attire. You never dress like that for me. Nor do you style your hair and makeup that way. Was it for him? And do you have feelings for him? Are you considering leaving me?" Rachel's tears started up again. "No, Ethan. I love only you. I never want to lose you. Nothing happened. I don't know why I dressed like that. Maybe I was just feeling insecure and wanted to fit in." I kissed her gently and held her close, letting her cry. This marked the beginning of a month-long scheme for my revenge. That night we made love, and I savored every moment, pretending to be one of her lovers. Her acting was impeccable, but I was detached, focused solely on my plan. Her enthusiasm was more intense than ever, trying to convince me of my exclusive place in her heart. This charade continued for weeks, each night her performance flawless, while I enjoyed the show. The following morning, I checked the cloud for any messages with Andrew. As expected, she hadn't disappointed me. "Oh my God. Someone took photos of us at the fair and sent them to Ethan. His friend saw me at the restaurant without Ethan. I'm not sure if he knows, but the video showed us kissing. Damn." Now that I think about it, I remember seeing a man with a phone across from us, observing. But I didn't think much of it at the time. "How did Ethan react?" I asked. "Nothing," Rachel replied. "I convinced him that nothing happened. I intervened and made him believe it was just the drinks. He's completely unaware I spent the night in your room. A few kisses and some good lovemaking always seem to do the trick with him. He's easily swayed." "Be careful," I warned. "We're meeting there tomorrow at 1 p.m., just like always. Can't wait. Love you, baby." "Love you too, kitten," she responded. That was the last message, and I sat there reflecting on it all. I felt like the biggest fool in the world. Despite that, there was a sense of satisfaction in the thought of revenge, and I moved forward with resolve. I was eager to see how many more lies Rachel would spin. My first step was to handle my financial matters. I transferred funds, closed accounts, and reduced the limit on my primary Visa card to $2,500 to prevent any potential damage. Rachel remained blissfully unaware of my growing anger and didn't expect any changes. I confirmed with my lawyer that since the house was mine before the marriage, I wouldn't have to leave if I notified her. I prepared the infamous email with videos, texts, and photos and sent it to all her contacts, friends, family, and coworkers. I also made duplicate binders from my personal account to send to Mrs. Bennett and Mrs. Harris, sharing their grief. These would be distributed along with the notifications and legal filings. I instructed my lawyer to prepare for public civil lawsuits against Andrew and Michael, the CEO. Given the company's prominence on the East Coast, my lawyer was eager to take on the CEO. We planned to propose a settlement before exposing the CEO and manager's alleged misconduct. We also coordinated with child services attorneys to aim for full custody and gathered documents for the investigation. Over the next few weeks, everything seemed normal. We took care of the kids and spent quality time together. The topic of our issues was carefully avoided, and I'm sure my silence was driving Rachel to the brink. The uncertainty and tension were palpable. To further provoke Rachel, I asked her a few pointed questions. "So, Rachel, has your boss taken any action against you since the fair? Anything you want to share?" From her conversations with Andrew, I knew she was maintaining her deceitful facade with impressive composure. It was almost entertaining to watch her reactions, and I had even started predicting when she was about to lie. She responded coolly, saying nothing had happened. It felt bizarre, almost surreal, that we were both pretending nothing had occurred, when in reality, her boss remained strictly professional, and our interactions were minimal. Sitting there with a wry smile, I marveled at how effortlessly Rachel could lie. It was shocking to me, especially considering how much I had loved her. That night, I let all my pent-up anger out. I confronted her, taking full advantage of the situation. "Oh my God, Ethan," Rachel said, astonished. "What's gotten into you? You're acting so wild today. I've never seen you like this." I enjoyed every moment of it. I knew this would be our final encounter before everything came to light the next day. I planned to make the most of it. That afternoon, the sheriff walked into Tricom International's offices and asked to see Mr. Bennett. Moments later, Sheriff Miller handed him an envelope. "Mr. Bennett, you've been served." A moment later, Bennett was alone in his spacious office, clutching the envelope with a look of sheer panic. After reading the complaint multiple times, he quickly instructed his secretary to summon Michael to his office and called him simultaneously. "Michael, who had just been served by the same sheriff, rushed into Bennett's office. They stood there, stunned and confused. "What the hell? How did this happen?" Bennett demanded. "Michael, if my wife finds out about this, I'm finished. This is your fault. You promised me this woman would never leave us. Fix this, or I swear I'll destroy you and your family. Do you understand?" Bennett was not a man to be trifled with. He was a ruthless businessman who had clawed his way to the top and had no intention of backing down. Andrew rushed out of his office, heading for the elevator to the 12th floor, desperate to see Rachel. As he approached her office, he saw the sheriff coming from her direction. Bursting into Rachel's office, he found her at her desk, tears streaming down her face. She was overwhelmed and couldn't speak. Ethan had shattered her world, just as she had done to him months ago. It took Rachel more than an hour to regain her composure and begin to articulate her thoughts. "Jamal, what on earth happened? How did he find out about everything?" "What do you mean?" Jamal asked, bewildered. "I've just been served with divorce papers," Rachel said. "And Bennett and I are also being sued. We're facing a civil lawsuit for our actions. I don't know what evidence they have, but it must be more than just the 2 images you saw. You need to convince Ethan to back off, or Bennett will ruin us and my family." "Oh my God, this is a disaster," Rachel said, her voice filled with despair. "It's a disaster," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "You need to talk to him and convince him to reconsider. Do whatever it takes to stop this. Go home and handle it. Call me tonight with an update." Shaking with anxiety, Rachel packed her things and drove home. Her husband, the father of her children, was divorcing her, and she was devastated. She didn't want the divorce. She genuinely loved Ethan. Yet, she found herself drawn to the thrill of her illicit affairs. She needed to make Ethan see that she couldn't bear losing him over this. Arriving at the empty house, she realized the girls were at Ethan's sister's place, as they usually were in the afternoons while both of them worked. She called Laura, asking if she could keep the children overnight. Laura, without hesitation, agreed. Rachel took a shower, did her hair and makeup, and anxiously waited for Ethan to come home. At 6 o'clock, she heard the garage door open and tensed up, preparing for his arrival. "Hi, Rachel," Ethan said, surprised to see her. "I didn't expect you tonight. Thought you'd be with Andrew. Oh, wait, he's married with kids. This might get awkward." "Ethan, please, let's talk," Rachel said, reaching for his hand and guiding him to the sofa. Despite the gravity of the situation, she appeared unnervingly calm and more pleasant than usual. Ethan, expecting this demeanor, played along. "Ethan, as you know, I was served today. But I want you to understand I don't want a divorce. I love you. I won't sign these papers. Andrew means nothing to me. Yes, we were intimate, but it wasn't love. I just needed it, and I'm truly sorry. I swear it won't happen again." "Oh, you promise?" Ethan replied with a hint of sarcasm. "Guess I should trust you now. Sure, let's just forget everything and return to normal." He smiled warmly, though it was laced with irony. Rachel embraced him and kissed him softly. "Thank you, Ethan. I love you so much. I'm grateful you're willing to forgive me. I won't lie to you again." Ethan was taken aback by her display of affection. He was certain she understood his sarcasm. Gently pushing her away, he said, "You're delusional. I can't trust you anymore. After all the lies and deceit, there's nothing left. I gave you countless chances, but you kept lying and destroying our lives. I know all about your frequent hotel rendezvous with your bosses. Did you really think I'd take you back after this? Have you even thought about the damage you've done to the girls?" Rachel's face paled as the severity of Ethan's anger sank in. "But you can't do this. Why go after Bennett and Andrew? They're CEOs of a major company. Once I'm out of here, I'll need money to support the girls properly. Since they're partly responsible for ruining our marriage and my life, I'll ruin them too. I plan to dismantle their families, hit them financially, and make them pay for using you." Ethan's words were sharp and unyielding. Rachel had never seen him so angry and focused. She realized she had lost control over the situation and her husband. With tears streaming down her face, she fell to her knees and clutched his legs, pleading for forgiveness. Ethan's anger was so overpowering that despite feeling a pang of sympathy, he lifted her onto the sofa. Speaking to her as if she were a child, he said, "Listen, Rachel, pack a bag and stay with your mom for a few nights. Get a lawyer. Then we can arrange a meeting to discuss everything. And a word of advice, stay away from Michael and Andrew. Things are about to get messy." That evening at her mother's house, Rachel explained that she and Ethan had a disagreement and she needed some time away. At 11 p.m., she called Andrew, who quickly added Michael to the call. "Michael, are you there?" Rachel asked. "Yes, we're here," Bennett responded, taking control of the conversation. "So, Rachel, did you manage to convince him to drop the lawsuits and the divorce?" "No," Rachel admitted, her voice strained. "He kicked me out and warned me to be careful. He said things could get ugly. He's not answering my calls or texts." "Jesus Christ, Andrew, what have you done?" Bennett shouted into the phone. "Rachel, you're a mess. If my family finds out about this, I will make sure you and Andrew pay dearly. Do whatever it takes to stop him." Rachel cried, feeling helpless. "I can't do anything. He's out of control and won't listen." "Andrew, you need to fix this," Bennett said. "Arrange a meeting with Ethan at a bar, somewhere loud and busy. Rachel will be there too. Ask him to drop the lawsuit in front of us. If he refuses, Andrew and I will explain how damaging it will be for him and his family if he doesn't back down. I have connections for situations like this, and I won't hesitate to use them." "Do you understand what you need to do, Andrew?" Bennett pressed. "Yes, Mr. Bennett," Andrew replied. "Rachel, you know what to do, right?" Bennett asked. "Yes, Mr. Bennett," Rachel responded. "Make it happen tomorrow afternoon. We don't have time to waste." With that, Bennett ended the call. Rachel and Andrew hung up, each grappling with the gravity of the situation. That night, Ethan was unruffled by their desperation. He had anticipated their next move and was ready with his own strategy. As expected, Andrew called the following morning to arrange a settlement meeting. They agreed to convene at 6 p.m. in a secluded courtyard. At 4 p.m., Ethan was at his private investigator's office, preparing for the meeting. They had equipped themselves with advanced noise cancellation technology to ensure the clarity of conversations, even amidst the chaos. A private investigator was also on hand to document the meeting on video. Ethan made a point of arriving at 6:15, intentionally delaying his entrance to let the private investigator complete the setup. As he approached the group, he saw Rachel standing among them and felt a cold resolve. "Rachel," Ethan said, his voice icy, "I didn't expect to see you here with your associates. I guess we know where your loyalties lie. Gentlemen, what brings us together?" Michael Bennett spoke up, his tone clipped. "Ethan, I'm Michael Bennett. I called this meeting." "Bennett," Ethan replied, studying him with thinly veiled disdain. "You're not quite how I imagined. I can't say it's a pleasure." "Let's get to the point," Bennett said. "Andrew Harris and I are here to discuss the lawsuits." "Andrew," Ethan said, his eyes narrowing. "The man who had an affair with my wife and helped destroy my family. Not exactly thrilled to meet you." Bennett tried to diffuse the situation. "I understand your anger, Ethan. If I were in your shoes, I'd be furious too. But we need to talk business. Follow me." "What's this about?" Ethan asked, his voice taut with irritation. "We want you to drop the lawsuits against us and the company," Bennett said directly. Ethan's expression hardened. "And why would I do that? Someone needs to pay for tearing apart my life." His gaze shifted to Rachel. "For betraying my love, trust, and the well-being of my children." Rachel's face crumpled as she started to cry, her remorse evident. "What will it take to end this? I'll do anything. Just tell me your price." Ethan's voice was resolute. "No amount of money can fix what's been done. The only way I'd consider dropping the lawsuits is if you meet two conditions. First, I want $5 million in damages. Second, I want to meet both of your wives, and Rachel must openly admit her wrongdoing. Agree to that, and I'll end this." Bennett's face twisted with anger. "Go to hell, Ethan. I'll offer you $100,000 and a silence agreement." "I won't let my family suffer," Bennett threatened. "If this goes public, Ethan, you'll regret it. Rachel's detailed our routines. Disappearing you would be easy." Ethan took a deliberate sip of his drink, unaffected. "I'll lower it to $4 million, but both your families must know what you did." Bennett's temper flared. "Ethan, you're sealing your fate. Think it over. Drop the charges and take Rachel back. It was just a fling. We can resolve this amicably." Ethan's fingers flew over his phone as he sent out 2 text messages. He also accessed his email, dispatching a message containing incriminating videos and photos. Concurrently, he instructed couriers stationed outside Bennett's and Harris's homes to deliver packages containing detailed evidence. Within moments, Bennett's and Harris's wives received binders full of evidence, photos, videos, texts, and phone records. Bennett's face turned crimson as he erupted. "What the hell, Ethan? I'm speaking to you. Will you drop the charges or not?" Ethan's response was cold and final. "My answer to you, Bennett, Harris, and my wife is go to hell." Just then, their phones rang simultaneously. It was their wives calling. Bennett's fury was palpable. "You're dead, Ethan. I'll make sure you regret this." With a last glare, he stormed out of the courtyard. Andrew, visibly shaken, confronted Ethan. "Why? Why do this to me?" Ethan looked at him incredulously. "Seriously? You've been using my wife, the love of my life, and the mother of my children, for 6 months arranging these liaisons, and you're surprised I retaliated? The evidence I sent to your wife was to show her the truth about you, and to expose the havoc you've wreaked." Rachel's phone buzzed with calls from her family. They had seen the videos and photos Ethan sent. Rachel initially denied everything, but after checking her email, her face went pale. She shot Ethan a look of raw anger. "How could you do this to me?" Ethan replied calmly, "I loved you once, but it's over. I'm turning over this meeting's recording to the authorities and social services. My lawyer assures me I'll get full custody of the girls. You're lucky to avoid jail time. You must face the consequences of your actions to prevent this from going public." The lawsuit was settled with Ethan receiving $2 million. Bennett was dismissed from his CEO position and terminated without severance due to a morals clause breach. He lost over $10 million in stock options and a $5 million severance package. Bennett received a 5-year prison sentence for conspiracy and other charges. His wife divorced him, and an investigation into his business dealings left him financially ruined. He exited prison destitute and homeless. This news provided Ethan with a rare moment of satisfaction. Mrs. Harris also divorced Andrew, who lost his money, home, child support, and half his income in alimony. He was fined $1 million and lost his job. Andrew's subsequent downfall to day labor and bankruptcy brought Ethan some solace. Rachel was sentenced to 5 years in prison, later reduced to 1 year of house arrest, and 4 years of probation for conspiracy. She lost custody of her children, which Ethan gained. With no home and no divorce due to the damning evidence, Rachel became homeless after her termination. Her equal earnings with Ethan meant no child support was needed. She fell into deep depression, living in her mother's basement, estranged from her family, and denied visitation with her children. Ethan's email, exposing Rachel's actions, shattered her family's support network. The public exposure left Rachel in turmoil, struggling with 3 suicide attempts and a cycle of mental health crises. Ethan, now free from work, devotes himself to his daughters, supported by his sister and mother. The girls are recovering from the trauma with ample support. While Ethan's quest for revenge provided temporary relief, it cannot erase the wounds left by Rachel's betrayal. He remains dedicated to his children, but knows it will be years before he can trust and love again. The consequences of their actions have rippled far beyond their expectations, a stark reminder of how deeply personal choices can impact many lives.